Hi, my name is Polina Teif. I'm the director of Eulogy for the Dead Sea. I'm based in Toronto, Canada, and I'm very grateful to all of you who are here to experience this film, and also to the programming team at EFF for the opportunity to screen it. This is an especially difficult time considering all the events that unfolded since October 7th. When I started working on Eulogy for the Dead Sea, it kind of came about from observations that I had watching the topography of the Dead Sea change, seeing the sinkholes appearing in the 90s and the shoreline receding constantly and infrastructure collapsing. So this was a very visually striking image. So I started kind of filming these changes since 2017, and we completed our production in 2021. One of the biggest challenges in making this film is the ongoing occupation in the West Bank and Gaza. Many of my Palestinian crew members were unable to cross the Green Line, which kind of crosses the Dead Sea just north of En Gedi, and myself as a foreign passport holder was able to do so. So, the reality of the occupation in Israel-Palestine is very pervasive and ongoing, and the events of October 7th definitely brought this to light. Anybody who was not aware of what was going on is a lot more aware right now. The tragedy of the environmental degradation of the Dead Sea is one where I realized that all the stakeholders, be it Palestinian salt factory workers, Jordanian farmers, Israeli agriculture farmers, everybody is kind of experiencing, to a different degree, of the effects of the decline of the water level. And one of the central questions that I kept asking myself, if everybody is suffering as a result of this water diversion and this environmental degradation, why is there no cooperation? Yeah, this is kind of an ongoing question and the central question of the film. What would it take for conservation to happen? I believe that it would take a lot of work to create equity. And equity cannot exist under the context of occupation, as we have seen, especially this past year, but even within the greater kind of if we zoom out into the greater context of the occupation since the 50s, this is kind of an ongoing issue. So I guess what concerns me now is the situation in Gaza and preserving human life, having a bit of a hard time reconciling or prioritizing the environmental aspects when there's been such a devastating loss of human life. So I feel that, I hope that this film can provide a lens into the situation, but unfortunately ever since this film came out, I feel like the situation has kind of gotten worse. The conversation around Palestine is very divisive, but nevertheless I hope that it can provide some sort of context and empathy and framework to really think about shared resources in a land that is historically the Fertile Crescent, abundant, beautiful, fertile land where people coexisted for a very long time, and many empires have tried to conquer this land and occupy it, and they've all kind of over time they have fallen. So yeah, I felt a lot more optimistic while I was making the film. I do think the situation has gotten very, very bad since, but nevertheless, I think that we, as people who have agency and say, we can vote, we can protest, we have a right to make sure that future generations are given a better hand. And there is a part of me that hopes that people will look back at this time and think of it as a very dark time because the situation has gotten better, that this film will become a historic document to document an environmental tragedy that has been restored once the occupation ends. People have equal rights, freedom of movement, freedom to protest, own land, freedom for enterprise, freedom of expression, freedom to practice their language. And and I think that, if we think about topics of like land confiscation amongst like Palestinian communities in the West Bank, especially like I'm thinking about Mensfariata, like that has been ongoing and really devastating. So there is lots of ways to get involved and make an impact and stand in solidarity. So I hope that this film provides a bit of a framework around that, maybe like an entry point through an environmental lens, through the Dead Sea, which, was a world wonder in a way. It's a very like magical place. And I guess I'll add to it that I don't know if we can like afford to lose hope. We are stewards of this land. I live in Canada now as a settler here, and we are often begin events by doing a land acknowledgement. So, I'm in the land of the Mississaugas of the Credit River, the Haudenosaunee, the Wendat people, and many Indigenous people who live here. So I hope that Eulogy for the Dead Sea is in a way a land acknowledgement to the Palestinian communities, the Bedouin communities who have stewarded that land for many generations and are able to regain agency, reclaim their land, dignity, and human rights, so everybody could thrive. That is my hope. The way I kind of structured the film was to try and survey the communities who live all around the lake and up the Jordan River, and kind of create a topography that we can kind of go through and see how different communities are affected. Since finishing the film, I have gone back to visit Hassan, the Jordanian farmer who lives right by the sinkholes. And, this was after the pandemic. So, thankfully his land is still there. He's in good health and feeling very optimistic about the future. But it is very hard for farmers to make a living nowadays with the cost of water and so forth. Just wanted to relay that. In any case, I'm very grateful for this opportunity, and I hope that this film that you are able to take something from this with you. Thank you so much. Thank you.